We often talk to prospective students wanting to become health coaches and those who are students about to graduate about the importance of specializing. And there are many areas that a health coach can specialize in, and one that is particularly significant because these people are really making a difference has to do with preventing cognitive decline, even reversing Alzheimer's disease. We're talking about coaches who go on to train in ReCODE. And my guests today are going to tell you about ReCODE, about working on the discoveries that Dr. Dale Bredesen initiated. And the work that they are doing is so, so critical. So let me tell you about my special guest today. Julie Luby is a national board certified and ReCODE 2.0 health coach trained at the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. Julie holds BS and MS degrees in food science and nutrition, and her first career was in food product development. She's had a global coaching practice for 7 years and is passionate about working with people to prevent and reverse chronic illnesses such as diabetes and cognitive decline. Julie also leads virtual support groups through Apollo Health for care partners who have loved ones with dementia and for people who've been exposed to toxic mold, chemical, or heavy metals. With a history of Alzheimer's disease on both sides of her family, Julie is passionate about preventing cognitive decline. In her own health journey, she has tackled challenges such as gut health, SIBO, and mycotoxin illness from mold exposure. She's also managed a challenging home mold remediation project. Julie is working hard to optimize the health of her brain and body and finds it a privilege to help others do the same. Chris Coward has a background in clinical social work and has been coaching since 2004. Chris is currently the Vice President of Coaching Services for Apollo Health, supporting the ReCODE 2.0 trained coaches who work with Apollo Health members on optimizing their brain health. Chris has a family history of dementia, which makes her even more passionate about helping others slow down or reverse their cognitive decline. She lives in Denver, Colorado, with her husband and dog. I know that you will enjoy listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed the interview. Welcome to Health Coach Talk.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Excited to be here.
So thank you. So before we begin, I just wanted to comment on an article I saw that had to do with health coaching as kind of a side gig, and people are attracted to coaching because, I can just go to a weekend course and I can become a certified health coach, and then I can go out and I can make tons of money while still wearing my pajamas. And the article was saying, no, this is a profession and that this is something to be taken very seriously. And so I thought about the work that you do and how critical it is and how absolutely this is a profession and you are making a big, big difference. This is very different than somebody who just trains in a matter of weeks and now is out there calling themselves a health coach. So I just thoughts on that as we get started with our conversation today.
Well, it is very serious. I mean, it's a very serious field. I certainly have done more general coaching, and this is maybe more technical and more specific and targeted. Honestly, it's life or death for some of the families we work with. So I feel like it is really important work that we're doing. But it is really health coaching applied to this field of cognitive decline. So all of the basics of health coaching apply here. And, to your point, I think it's a lot different. Lots of people like to talk about health to their friends and tell people what to do and all that. That's not what health coaching is. And certainly what we do is very different.
Yeah, and I'll just add, coming from the non-health coaching world initially and getting my training in that path to mastery, and then adding in the health coaching piece around National Health and Wellness Board certification, like that credential is there for a reason. It's to, ensure some rigor in what we're doing. And, as Julie was saying, boy, you could mess up our members in ReCODE that have cognitive decline if you aren't professional and have the training under your belt and doing this well.
Sure. So let's get to how you got into this field, Julie. How did you start? How did you decide that you were going to specialize in brain health and cognitive decline?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I was in my first couple months at FMCA, and my father had Alzheimer's, and we were invited to a patient immersion with Dr. Bredesen. So 30 families and their caregivers went out to California. And I learned about this protocol just really as a caregiver to my mom, who was a caregiver to my dad. And I was blown away. I didn't even know that Alzheimer's was reversible. My dad was pretty far, down the path of Alzheimer's by the time we found Dr. Bredesen. But I had no idea that there was hope and that there were things you could do to both prevent it and, stop it in its tracks and even reverse some of the symptoms if you catch it early enough. So I vowed that weekend, I think I was in month 2 of FMCA, that I was going to find a way to work in this area. And so I, sort of built my practice toward that. I started very slow. I was still working in another job at the time, and I was working 3 days a week somewhere else. So I started my practice slowly. I took FMCA's first reversing cognitive decline sort of special class that you all offered. And then I helped Apollo Health take that even one step further and design the training course that we now have for ReCODE coaches. So I've just sort of stayed in touch and started practicing, and I eventually gave up my other job, and now I just do this.
Well, it is so needed. And like so many others, your personal story played into this, where you saw your dad's decline and the impact that you had on your mom and caregivers is really critical. And so this is, how would you say this is different from other areas that coaches specialize in?
A lot of it is similar. I mean, a lot of the coaching is very basic about helping people find their motivation, understanding their why. Believe it or not, even when people have cognitive decline, it's important to connect to their why, because it can help you when they're trying to make more difficult changes to their lifestyle. It's a little bit difficult or a little bit different in that sometimes we're coaching, a care partner instead of the person who actually has the illness or the disease. Sometimes we're coaching both. There's definitely more of an education component. We're really taught that coaches are not educators. But I will say with this, it's partly the complexity of the material and partly the clients that we're working with who have some cognitive decline, that we may spend a little bit more time helping them understand the protocol, because it's complicated, and when your mind isn't working quite right, at the beginning anyway, they might need a little bit more help with that.
Yeah, you mentioned hope, and study after study has shown the power of hope, giving somebody hope. And yet we also hear, well, it's false hope, and there's something wrong with helping somebody to have hope. And I wonder if you comment on that, Chris. And any thoughts on that? Because you've seen, as you worked with Apollo, any thoughts about that? And
Sure.
and Dr. Bredesen's criticism, has been criticized.
Yeah, that's right. We are under fire sometimes, for sure. And the most beautiful saying I heard back was from Julie G, who's a member of our leadership team, who said, "Don't be guilty of using false hopelessness, because this program absolutely works." And I always have that running through my head, and as a counter to some of the criticism. But you just can't deny it. I mean, there's clinical trials published with this work, with health coaches supporting the trial patients in getting better. And it's a big part of everything. And all the folks that step forward to talk about the changes they've made and what they've seen in their loved ones, it's just undeniable. And I don't think people want to know that yeah, it's actually, we're doing this separate from big pharma and their interventions and people, it's a human nature, right? We all want to take a pill. But if you can make some of those lifestyle changes and get assessed for your specific challenges and address those as a N of one, this can really work for you.
What drew you to this field, Chris?
Well, I like every other coach in our ecosystem, I have on my maternal side a history of Alzheimer's. The one closest to me was my mom, who passed in 2022, while I was in the middle of this work. But she had progressed pretty kind of far along before I really knew about the work of Dr. Bredesen. So it wasn't an intervention that was in time really for her and so on. So it's near and dear to my heart. I want to keep myself healthy because we're not our genes. I don't have to turn it on. And also I know that it's absolutely, I don't have to get it myself. So that's part of it. And the other thing is I really love to help coaches get work and work meaningfully in this admirable profession that it is. And so now I'm in a position where, I can, help facilitate coaches getting trained in this specific work, and then support them in any way needed to be out there and helping our members get better.
That's so beautiful. Julie, we often hear from our prospective students coming to FMCA doubts about whether they'll have work when they graduate. Will I be able to make a living? And so can you talk about the opportunities if someone wanted to specialize in this work in helping people with cognitive decline and Alzheimer's?
There's actually a lot of different ways that you can apply coaching to this challenge. You can coach people one-on-one, and you can coach in groups. So a lot of people do coach groups. I actually lead a couple of support groups for Apollo. So it's one for care partners and one for people who have what we call type 3, which is toxic risk factors. So mold, Lyme, heavy metals, environmental toxins. So you can do one-on-one, you can do groups. We have several coaches who work within a doctor's practice, actually hired by the doctor's practice. We have many who contract with doctors and many who just have relationships with doctors who send their patients over to them. So it's certainly good to be connected and to find your way in as a coach. Some coaches prefer to just coach for prevention. So they work with what I call next gen people like Chris and me, who have family histories of Alzheimer's and want to prevent going down that same path. We've both witnessed parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles go down this path, and we want to stay healthy ourselves. So there's people out there like that can use coaching. There are care partners that need coaching. Sometimes it's really interesting. I work with a lot of care partners, and sometimes the loved one is with them, sometimes not, because when there's cognitive decline, it's often the care partner who actually implements a lot of this. We certainly still like to talk to the loved one if we can, but the care partners need support, as you can imagine. And sometimes it's just wonderful to be able to talk to these people who really don't have a lot of people to talk to about what they're trying to do. Maybe all their friends are taking, Alzheimer's medications or IV treatments or something like that, and they don't have a lot of support. in what they're trying to do with lifestyle. So they themselves need support in addition to what they're trying to do with their loved ones. I even coached in a clinical trial. So there's those opportunities too. So there's many, many different ways that you can apply this coaching background to work that you want to do.
Have you seen it grow since you got started?
In terms of my own practice
Opportunities for coaching?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think as Apollo Health gets better known, as functional medicine gets better known, and as people realize that there's other things out there, honestly, I think a lot of people come, I don't know if you're familiar with Daniel Amen's program, but a lot of people have gone through that program and then find Dr. Bredesen. So I think their program is pretty expensive, and sometimes people want to do the lifestyle changes and they need to find a coach. So it's it depends on how you put yourself out there. Certainly, we do get some referrals from Apollo Health because Apollo does help match people to coaches. I always tell new coaches, don't rely on it. You need to figure out what else you want to do. But I find that giving talks to groups in the area, especially I belong to a women's group and they tend to be fairly elderly. I've done 4 or 5 talks to them. That got me into a retirement home to do a talk to the men's group. So all of these opportunities spread the word that there is something else to do besides, decline and wait another year to go to your neurologist to have them tell you, okay, you're worse. And that's news to a lot of people. So I feel like by spreading the word, we're really raising awareness. And then you often get somebody who calls you later and says, hey, could you talk to my mom or could you talk to me about this?
Yes. I'm glad you brought up community talks because I really recommend that so strongly. And there are so many groups and organizations and communities that are hungry for this, and particularly senior centers, retiree communities, libraries. And it's great to put yourself out there, and people will want to hear about this. So let's turn to ReCODE. Chris, I was involved from the very beginning. When
Yes,
we
you
started
were.
talking
Thank you
about
for
ReCODE for coaches, preventing cognitive decline. And so can you talk about the ReCODE for coaches, what it takes to get certified, and
Sure.
and then if somebody's listening and is interested in becoming a ReCODE coach?
I will address all of that.
Okay.
And I'm grateful for you for getting the whole thing started, like bringing functional health coaching into this work. So for those that don't know, ReCODE stands for reversal of cognitive decline. And our, Julie was alluding to prevention path, and that's, we have a PreCODE program, prevention of cognitive decline. And this is our training for coaches. We consider it an advanced coach certification program. So we're looking for people that are already trained as health coaches. We love our partnership with your program, FMCA, because it brings the right people to us who we know have had a very robust training in foundational skills of health coaching. And we make exceptions too, but it's based on really kind of looking at the people's experience and things like that. So the program is about, it might even be a little more than 36 hours. So you are able to get all of if you're National Health and Wellness Board certified, which we prefer, you're able to get all of your CCEs for your 3 years in one program. And it's robust in terms of at the request of Julie and some of the initial folks that took the first training. We imported the practitioner modules. So it's pretty sciencey. It goes pretty deep. It can be kind of technical, as Julie is referring to. And some of those things are optional because as a coach, we want to stay in scope of practice. We don't want anyone really taking this heavily scientific knowledge and just like dropping it on on their clients. It's not for that. It's just to kind of boost the awareness and knowledge base of the coach. And then the other requirement, in addition to the self-paced online, hours that it is that we have a community meeting of coaches each month, and we feature a specialized topic. Sometimes it's just an open best practices call, and sometimes we go deep in an area that impacts coaching ReCODE members. So something like, I mean, some examples are like, what do you want to know about exogenous ketones, or using a continuous glucose monitor, the ins and outs of that, and how to put it on, and how to instruct around it. Things that go a little bit into some things that a coach might run into in their practice. And so the students are required to either listen to a combination of recordings or attend live, total of 4 of those calls. But we find that, like Julie, people kind of stay in community because it's fun, and you're hearing updated things, and you're being with the coaches that have gone through it. So there's some support there, and Q&A and things like that to help each other, but some tips. And that's it. And then you get, you finish the program, you get onboarded with Apollo Health. That's a 90-minute onboarding, and that's, all virtual. And then you are ready to go. And we always recommend, as Julie was referring to, get out there, do those community talks, market for yourself, because it will help you, get clients and get some, practice under your belt, so you get better and better. And in tandem, we will look to match you too with our members that are looking for coaching.
So I had Dr. Bredesen on the podcast and talked about his groundbreaking book, The End of Alzheimer's, but also his new book about the ageless brain. And it sounds like this is just a field where there are so many just new discoveries as the further you are doing this work, that you are seeing some dramatic changes. And any case studies, any examples come to mind that you would care to share where somebody really made some wonderful progress in this area? Something for the naysayers that think, oh, this is not possible.
So Julie, I'll just give 2 things, because these are so easy to find publicly. And one is patient 0 of Dr. Bredesen. She is amazing. She's in her early 80s, is walking across America. And so anyone that wants to find out about her journey, she has reversed her cognitive decline, has become a health coach, and does this work in ReCODE. And it's judywalks.com. And you can follow her journey and listen to her story, because it's really impressive. And then, Julie, I'll let you add in anything you want here.
Sure. I mean, there are so many different situations, and because everybody starts at a different point, success can look different. Certainly, if somebody has what we call subjective cognitive decline, where they just feel like they're not as sharp as they used to be, but it wouldn't really show up on a cognitive assessment yet, those are probably our best PreCODE members. And certainly we've seen people get better, but even in the early stages of Alzheimer's or MCI, which is a little bit further down the pike than SCI, we've seen reversal. I know when I was coaching in the clinical trial, we had one woman who had been, she was a knitter, and she used to knit very complicated patterns, and she had, she was declining. She had just had to give up, knitting. She just couldn't follow the instructions anymore, couldn't follow the rules. I think if you're familiar with the MoCA test, it's a 30-point blunt instrument for cognitive assessment, but I think she was about a 23. So, clearly some things were changing. But within 6 months, she brought her MoCA score back to 30. She was back to knitting again. And it was really through changing her diet, improving her insulin sensitivity. It was, I believe she had some toxins that she had to remove from her body. And, so many of these toxins are neurotoxins. And when we get rid of them, the brain fog lifts. So she was very dedicated to the protocol, really, the great thing about this program is it targets what the risk factors are for you. So you have to work on your risk factors. You don't have to work on everything because not everybody has all the risk factors. So that was great. And then we had another woman who she probably had more cognitive decline, but she was really worried about she was single, no heirs, no children. And she really was trying to prepare for her future and wanted to be able to she was still living alone, but wanted to be able to get into a continuing care retirement community where you had to pass a cognitive exam sort of to be let into the community, especially in independent living. And I think her sister lived there. And she would not have passed this test, but through working with her doctor and coaching and everything else, by the end, she was doing great. She wasn't even looking to go into the retirement community yet. She was, cleaning everything up and out being much more social. I think she might have even started dating. So, these are transformations we see pretty frequently. So.
Wow, this just really warms my heart to hear these stories. And we know, and I know personally from talking to so many health coaches, that this is a career that brings people joy. You get to see this transformation, and it seems like that this is a population, they're coming to you already motivated and wanting to make these changes. And you are their support, their guide, their ally, and really makes this work so rewarding. And I know to hear you talk about this, Julie, just the joy that I bet you get from waking up and having a mission and purpose in doing this work, the changes you've seen in people.
Yeah, and honestly, part of the really joyful part is I can feel how important it is for people to have someone to talk to about all of this. And, sometimes they just don't have other people to talk to. So a coach can be an ally in that way too, where they can just have a good functional medicine type conversation about what they're dealing with without their friends or neighbors thinking they're crazy. So it's really important.
Oh, absolutely. And when I was working on my last book, I was looking at all the research on the efficacy of health coaching, and there are studies out there, you've done clinical trials showing how effective this process is. And one study was looking at quality of life. So they weren't measuring cognitive changes necessarily, but just quality of life. And according to positive psychology, it is possible to live well, despite Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, that people can still have some joy in their lives. And it is from relationships and being part of a community. And so I wonder if you would care to comment on that.
Yeah, and I think stress is such an important factor in cognitive decline and in caregiving, certainly.
Yeah.
So anytime you can relieve somebody's stress by being there for them and being able to guide them and be that constant in their life, I think that's really important too, because they can actually think better when they're not as stressed. And this applies to both a caregiver and somebody with Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
So I think that's really important because I think, and sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. Oh my gosh, I wish I could do more. But then I hear what they say to me and I realize like, oh, this is impactful as it is, and just this relationship is important. And this is maybe keeping them sane. So
I always tell new coaches that I'm mentoring that do not underestimate the value that you're providing as a new coach, because of exactly what Julie's talking about, the relationship, the ability to have an objective thought partner and support and sounding board. that we just don't get sometimes in our life naturally. And yeah, your skills are going to get better the more you do it and the more you pursue mastery. But you have something important and of value to offer, like right now, even with whatever 60 or 100 hours of coaching under your belt.
Sure. So, Chris, what support do you provide, or does ReCODE provide, or Apollo, to coaches who are working as ReCODE coaches? You mentioned you have meetings where they receive support. Can you talk about any other ways that you would support the coaches?
Sure, sure. And I would say it's a team effort. I there's opportunities to get mentored by some of our seasoned ReCODE coaches like Julie and some of our other colleagues. And so we like to be able to offer that for folks that just want that a little bit of like real life support and getting traction with their work. Our support team is outstanding, and they will help you with everything from your listing to your pricing packages, to who is in your geographic area that you might, if you're interested in partnering with a ReCODE practitioner, like who's around, and things like that. And so that is huge. Like they will spend time with you to make that happen. I always recommend to our ReCODE coaches, have those conversations with support so they can get to know you and know what your sort of sweet spot is and any particular deeper niche you might have, like sub niche within your ReCODE practice. And we really, I mean, we're always seeking feedback from our coaches. What's working? What's not working? How can we support you? What are your clients saying? And how can we make something that's kind of difficult, like a little bit easier, if as much as we can. So there is a lot of support. My email, I mean, I will address everything, and I'll turn it over if I'm not the right person. And I can be reached at Chris at ahnphealth.com if anyone's listening to this and has any questions about the program or what's involved or the cost. All those kind of things. And I should add, we have a partnership with FMCA for a 15% discount on the training. So it's a secret code, but I would give it to you if you reach out to me.
And don't
Well,
forget,
that's wonderful. And Julie?
I was going to say, there's also a lot of ongoing support in terms of Dr. Bredesen does a town hall every month.
Yeah.
And so any new things that are coming up in the field, anything they're hearing, he will address it. He and usually one other doctor who's actually treating ReCODE and PreCODE patients will share the town hall meeting. We can submit questions. We can submit questions in particular about our clients. Our clients can submit questions. So we have all of that. And then we also have access to all of the materials on the Apollo website. So all of the materials that our clients have and the members of Apollo have, we have that access. And then we connect to each of them so we can see their account, we can see their reports and all of that. So we get a lot of material support and continuing educational support through Apollo. Because like you said, it's a changing field. And, I think one of the modules in the coach training is actually all the things that had changed in the 3 years prior to the coach training being put together in terms of Dr. Bredesen's thinking about treating Alzheimer's.
Sure. Great support. And we are really just thrilled and honored. I remember when Dr. Bredesen first came to us to say we need health coaches, and that started to develop the program and had meetings about how we would partner. Julie, how can people find you?
My email is julie@cogwellcoaching.com. So COGWELL coaching.com. So cognitive wellness. They can find me there. And I also have a website, www.cogwellcoaching.com.
Wonderful. Well, Julie and Chris, thank you so much for being with us today. You are doing such important work, and we are again honored to be part of it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was a great discussion.
Thank you.